Your life improves when your daily standards become stronger than your daily excuses. Most people are waiting for the right moment to change. They wait for more energy, more confidence, more time, or better circumstances. But real personal growth begins much closer to home. It begins with what you choose to do today, when nobody is pushing you. Challenge Yourself Every Day is a practical guide for becoming stronger through deliberate daily action. It is not about making life unnecessarily difficult. It is about choosing actions that build discipline, improve your character, expose your weaknesses, and increase your ability to handle responsibility. What are you avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? Which habit is quietly keeping you at the same level? How much more could you accomplish if you stopped asking whether you felt ready and started asking what needed to be done? In this audiobook, you will learn how to raise your standards, keep promises to yourself, face failure with intelligence, and turn ordinary challenges into lasting personal growth. Stay until the end. One honest challenge today could change the way you approach tomorrow. Chapter 1. Challenge yourself to grow beyond yesterday. Your life changes when you stop measuring yourself against other people and start measuring yourself against your own previous actions. Growth becomes real when you ask more from yourself today than you accepted from yourself yesterday. A person who improves one useful behavior each day can become very different over a long period of time. The first step is to understand what a daily challenge actually means. It does not mean making every day painful or filling your schedule with difficult tasks. It means deliberately choosing one action that requires you to become more disciplined, more focused, more patient, more skilled, or more responsible. The value of the challenge comes from the personal quality it develops. A difficult task that teaches nothing may simply waste your energy. A small task that demands honesty and discipline can change your behavior. Look at an ordinary morning. You wake up and notice that you do not feel ready to work. Your phone is close to your hand. Messages are waiting. Short videos are easy to open. Your mind wants something comfortable before asking you to do something useful. This moment contains an important lesson about personal growth. Your first choice often teaches your mind what to expect from the rest of the day. Start the day by obeying every easy desire, and you strengthen that pattern. Start with one deliberate action, and you begin practicing self-control. This does not require a dramatic morning routine. Choose one useful action that you normally delay. Get out of bed without checking your phone. Make your bed. Drink water. Read 2 pages. Write the 3 most important tasks for the day. Spend 15 minutes learning a useful skill. The action itself is not the main point. The main point is that you make a decision and carry it out before your mind starts negotiating with you. There is another important principle here. Your brain learns from repeated behavior more reliably than from strong intentions. You can tell yourself for hours that you want to become disciplined. That statement has little value until your behavior gives it evidence. Every time you complete a task that you said you would complete, you create evidence that you can trust your own decisions. That trust matters because personal confidence is not built only by positive thoughts. It is built through repeated proof. Start keeping a simple daily record. Do not write a long journal unless you enjoy doing that. Use 3 short lines. Write what challenge you chose. Write whether you completed it. Then write what you learned about yourself. This creates a useful feedback system. After 7 days, you will see patterns that are difficult to notice during a busy day. You may discover that you avoid difficult work after poor sleep. You may notice that you lose focus after spending too much time on your phone. You may find that you work better before lunch. These observations turn self-improvement into something you can study. This is where many people make a mistake. They choose challenges that are too large because they want quick proof of change. They decide to exercise for 2 hours every morning, read 50 pages every night, wake up extremely early, stop all entertainment, and complete every unfinished task at once. The plan feels powerful for a few days. Then normal life creates pressure. The plan becomes difficult to maintain. The person misses one day and starts believing the entire effort has failed. A better approach is to make the challenge demanding but repeatable. Your goal is not to prove that you can suffer for 3 days. Your goal is to build a stronger pattern that can survive ordinary life. Read 10 pages every day instead of trying to finish an entire book in one weekend. Work with full attention for 25 minutes instead of promising yourself 5 perfect hours. Walk for 30 minutes instead of creating an exercise plan that requires a level of energy you do not have. The right challenge should create a little resistance. You should notice a small voice telling you that you would rather do something easier. That moment is useful. It shows you where your current habits end. You do not need to hate that resistance. You need to observe it and act with intention. Try this today. Choose one task you have been delaying because it is uncomfortable. Give yourself 20 minutes. Put your phone away. Remove unnecessary tabs from your computer. Sit in one place. Work only on that task until the 20 minutes are complete. Do not judge the quality of the result during those 20 minutes. Your first goal is to train yourself to begin. Starting is an important skill because avoidance grows through repetition. The longer you delay a task, the more mental space it can occupy. You may spend the morning thinking about it. You may feel guilty while doing something else. You may tell yourself that you will start later. Then the day becomes shorter and the task feels larger. Taking the first small action interrupts that cycle. There is also a deeper reason to challenge yourself beyond yesterday. Your standards are formed by what you repeatedly accept. This does not mean you must demand perfection. It means you should pay attention to patterns. One missed workout is not a serious problem. One missed workout followed by another, and another becomes a habit. One distracted work session is normal. Allowing distraction to control every work session becomes a lifestyle. So measure patterns rather than isolated events. Ask yourself what you did most days this week. Ask what you avoided most days. Ask where your time actually went. This is more useful than simply asking whether you had a good day. A good day can contain several poor habits. A difficult day can contain one important improvement. Use a simple standard each evening. Did I do something today that required discipline? Did I learn something useful? Did I complete something I wanted to avoid? Did I treat someone better because I controlled my reaction? Did I use my time with greater care than I did yesterday? You do not need perfect answers. You need honest answers. Honesty is one of the hardest daily challenges because people naturally protect their self-image. It feels better to say that you were too busy than to admit that you spent an hour scrolling through your phone. It feels better to blame your schedule than to admit that you did not plan your work. It feels better to say that you lack motivation than to admit that you have trained yourself to wait for motivation. Do not use honesty to attack yourself. Use it to understand yourself. Useful self-review sounds like this. I wasted 40 minutes on my phone after lunch. The problem was not lack of time. I opened the app because the next task felt difficult. Tomorrow I will leave my phone in another room during that work period. That statement is practical because it identifies the behavior, the trigger, and the adjustment. This is how you move beyond yesterday. You do not need to become a completely different person overnight. You need to notice one weak pattern and make one better decision. Then you repeat that process. Consider your level of patience. A person may believe they are patient until someone speaks rudely to them. They may believe they are disciplined until nobody is watching. They may believe they are focused until their work becomes boring. Real growth appears in these ordinary moments because those moments reveal behavior rather than intention. Give yourself small challenges that test these qualities. During one conversation today, listen without preparing your response. During one frustrating moment, wait 5 seconds before speaking. During one work session, complete the hardest task before checking messages. During one meal, eat without looking at your phone. During one evening, stop working at the time you planned and give proper attention to your family. These actions may look ordinary. Their educational value is much greater than their size suggests. They teach you that your attention can be directed. They teach you that discomfort does not require immediate escape. They teach you that a decision can remain in place even after your mood changes. Your mood will change often. Your responsibilities will remain. This is why building your life around motivation is unreliable. Motivation can help you begin, but a clear standard helps you continue. A daily challenge gives you a practical standard. You do not ask whether you feel like doing it. You ask whether you decided to do it and whether you are willing to keep your word. There will also be days when your challenge needs to become smaller. This is not weakness. It is intelligent adjustment. A person who normally studies for an hour may have a difficult day and study for 15 minutes. A person who normally exercises for 40 minutes may walk for 10. The important question is whether you are adapting the task or abandoning the habit. This distinction can protect your progress during stressful periods. Your goal is to maintain the behavior even when the ideal version is not possible. A smaller action keeps the relationship with the habit alive. Once life becomes normal again, you can increase the demand. You should also increase your challenge gradually. Once a behavior becomes easy, add a little difficulty. Read more pages. Work for a longer period. Take on a harder project. Speak more carefully during conflict. Learn a more advanced part of a skill. Volunteer for a responsibility you normally avoid. Growth requires increasing your capacity, but the increase should be controlled. A useful rule is to challenge one area at a time. Do not try to rebuild your entire life in 1 week. Choose discipline this week. Choose focus next week. Then work on communication. Later, work on health, learning, patience, or financial responsibility. This allows you to understand what produces improvement instead of creating a confusing list of promises. Pay attention to the emotional part of this process. There will be mornings when the room feels quiet and your body feels heavy. There will be afternoons when your attention becomes weak. There will be evenings when you know you should complete something but want to rest. These moments are not proof that you are failing. They are useful information about your current capacity. Treat them as training opportunities. Do the next responsible action, not the entire day, not the entire month, just the next responsible action. This simple approach can change the way you see difficult work. You stop asking how quickly you can escape discomfort and start asking what the discomfort is teaching you. A hard conversation may teach patience. A demanding project may teach planning. A failed attempt may teach preparation. A delayed goal may teach consistency. A boring task may teach you to work without needing constant excitement. Your challenge should also have a clear reason. Do not exercise simply because you believe disciplined people exercise. Exercise because you want stronger energy and better physical capacity. Do not study simply because successful people study. Study because knowledge gives you better choices. Do not save money simply because saving sounds responsible. Save because financial control gives you more freedom to make thoughtful decisions. A clear reason makes discipline easier to understand. You are not punishing yourself. You are training a quality that supports the life you want. Tonight, choose tomorrow's challenge before you go to sleep. Make it specific. Do not write that you will become better tomorrow. Write that you will spend 30 minutes learning before entertainment. Write that you will complete the most important work before checking social media. Write that you will walk for 20 minutes. Write that you will speak calmly during a difficult conversation. Write one action that is clear enough that there can be no confusion about whether you completed it. Then make the challenge visible. Put it on paper beside your desk. Set one reminder. Prepare what you need before the morning begins. If you plan to read, place the book where you will see it. If you plan to exercise, prepare your clothes. If you plan to study, open the material before you sleep. Good preparation reduces the number of decisions you need to make later. At the end of the day, record the result without drama. Completed, not completed, partly completed. Then study why. This creates a habit of learning from your own behavior. You are no longer simply living through your days. You are examining them and making adjustments. That is the real meaning of challenging yourself every day. It is not about creating a harder life. It is about becoming more capable of handling the life you already have. You challenge your attention so you can work better. You challenge your discipline so you can keep promises. You challenge your patience so you can respond wisely. You challenge your courage so you can face responsibilities instead of avoiding them. Tomorrow does not need a perfect version of you. It needs evidence that you are willing to improve one part of yourself. Take one action that yesterday's version of you avoided. Complete it with care. Record what happened. Learn from the result. Then raise the standard slightly and do it again. Your progress becomes visible through these small decisions. A stronger morning, a finished task, a calmer response, a focused hour, a completed workout, a page learned, a promise kept. These are the daily results that gradually change what you believe you are capable of doing. Challenge yourself today in a way that gives tomorrow's you something better to build on. Chapter 2. Choose difficult actions that strengthen your character. Character becomes stronger through the choices you make when nobody is forcing you to choose well. Difficult actions reveal what you value because easy actions rarely require much self-control. A person can talk about courage, discipline, patience, and responsibility, but these qualities become real only through repeated decisions that demand effort. One of the most useful lessons in personal growth is learning to separate necessary difficulty from unnecessary difficulty. You do not become stronger by making everything harder. You become stronger by choosing challenges that improve your ability to handle responsibility. The right difficult action should teach you something useful. It should improve a skill. It should correct a weak habit. It should make you more reliable. It should help you become the kind of person who can handle more without losing control. Start by identifying the difficult actions you regularly avoid. There is usually a reason behind the avoidance. You may delay making an important phone call because you dislike uncomfortable conversations. You may avoid organizing your finances because the numbers make you nervous. You may postpone learning a new skill because being a beginner feels uncomfortable. You may stay silent about a problem because speaking honestly could create tension. These situations are valuable because they show you exactly where character needs development. Do not choose a challenge simply because it feels painful. Choose one because avoiding it has a cost. This small difference changes your entire approach. A difficult conversation can protect a relationship from growing resentment. Reviewing your spending can prevent financial stress from becoming worse. Learning a new skill can increase your future opportunities. Cleaning an ignored space can restore order and reduce daily friction. The difficulty has value because the action solves a real problem. There is also a hidden benefit in doing difficult things early. Avoided responsibilities usually become heavier with time. A message becomes harder to send after 3 days of silence. A small financial mistake becomes more expensive when ignored for months. A simple health habit becomes harder to establish after years of neglect. The longer you avoid a useful action, the more emotional resistance you may build around it. Choose one responsibility that has been sitting in the background of your mind. Give it your full attention today. Do not spend another hour preparing mentally. Take the first useful step. Open the document. Make the call. Clean the area. Read the instructions. Write the plan. Ask for the information you need. Progress often begins with an action that is much smaller than the problem itself. Character also grows through keeping standards when nobody is watching. This is different from trying to impress people. A person may work hard in public because recognition feels good. The deeper test comes later when there is no audience. You know whether you completed the work properly. You know whether you kept your promise. You know whether you took the easier option simply because nobody would notice. Create private standards that do not depend on praise. Return something you borrowed without being reminded. Finish a task to the level you promised. Arrive at an agreed time. Admit a mistake without creating excuses. Put something back where it belongs. Keep your personal commitments even when they seem small. These actions may never receive attention from anyone else, but they shape your relationship with yourself. Another difficult action is accepting responsibility without immediately looking for someone to blame. This does not mean accepting blame for things you did not cause. It means separating what happened from what you can control now. You may not control another person's behavior. You can control your response. You may not control a mistake that already happened. You can control what you do after discovering it. Use this question during a difficult situation. What part of this situation belongs to me? The answer may be small. Perhaps you failed to prepare. Perhaps you ignored an early warning. Perhaps you communicated poorly. Perhaps you trusted the wrong information. Find your part without attacking yourself, then correct it. Responsibility becomes useful when it leads to better behavior. You can strengthen this habit through a daily responsibility review. At night, write down one situation that did not go well. Then identify the part you controlled. Write one action that would improve your response next time. Keep the exercise short. You are not trying to create guilt. You are training yourself to search for useful control instead of wasting energy on blame. Character also develops through delayed comfort. Modern life makes immediate rewards extremely easy to access. You can entertain yourself within seconds. You can order food without leaving home. You can avoid boredom with constant content. None of these things are automatically harmful. The problem begins when your ability to tolerate discomfort becomes weak. Practice delaying one small comfort each day. Finish your work before entertainment. Complete your walk before relaxing. Wait until your planned study session ends before checking social media. Eat your prepared meal before choosing something simply because it is convenient. These exercises teach your brain that an uncomfortable feeling does not require immediate action. This skill matters because many important results require waiting. Learning takes time. Building trust takes time. Improving physical fitness takes time. Developing professional ability takes time. Financial stability takes time. A person who needs immediate reward will struggle with activities where results appear slowly. Learning to wait without abandoning the task is a major part of mature behavior. There is another challenge that strengthens character in a very practical way. Do something well even when you do not enjoy it. You do not need to love every responsibility. Adults have many tasks that are necessary but not exciting. Laundry still needs to be done. Reports still need to be completed. Bills still need attention. A difficult lesson still needs practice. Give ordinary responsibilities your full effort for a fixed period. Choose 20 minutes and work without entertainment. During that time, do not judge the task. Do not complain about how boring it is. Complete the work carefully. This teaches an important lesson. Your emotional reaction to a task does not have to determine the quality of your behavior. You can make the challenge more meaningful by increasing responsibility gradually. Start with commitments that affect only you. Then take on responsibilities that affect another person. After that, accept projects where several people depend on your preparation. This gradual increase teaches you how your behavior affects others. A strong character is not built only through major decisions. It is shaped through ordinary choices that become predictable. People trust you because your behavior becomes reliable. They know you will show up. They know you will tell the truth. They know you will correct mistakes. They know that pressure will not automatically change your standards. Choose one difficult action tomorrow that improves this reliability. Complete something you promised. Tell the truth about a mistake. Have the conversation you have avoided. Learn the skill you keep postponing. Take responsibility for a task without waiting to be reminded. Pay attention to how you feel afterward. There may not be excitement. There may only be quiet relief. That feeling matters. It comes from knowing that you handled something instead of avoiding it. Repeat that experience often enough, and your behavior starts changing before your emotions catch up. The goal is not to become someone who enjoys every difficult task. The goal is to become someone who can do necessary things despite temporary discomfort. That ability gives you more control over your choices. It helps you make decisions based on values rather than convenience. At the end of each day, identify one difficult action you completed and ask what quality it developed. Maybe you practiced honesty. Maybe you strengthened patience. Maybe you improved responsibility. Maybe you learned to tolerate boredom. Maybe you showed courage during a conversation. Name the quality clearly, then look for another opportunity to practice it tomorrow. Your character grows each time your behavior matches the person you want to become. Choose the useful difficulty. Do the work without needing attention. Accept your responsibility. Delay unnecessary comfort. Keep your standards in private. Take on slightly greater responsibility as your ability improves. These choices give character a practical foundation. The next difficult decision may not look important to anyone else. It may be a phone call made on time. It may be an unfinished task completed before bed. It may be an honest admission. It may be 30 quiet minutes spent learning instead of escaping into entertainment. Give that decision your full attention and complete it properly. The quality of your character is being shaped by what you choose to do with that ordinary moment. Chapter 3. Train yourself to act without excuses. Excuses become powerful when they sound reasonable enough to believe. A person rarely says that they are choosing failure. They usually explain why today was not the right day to act. The work feels too difficult. The timing feels wrong. Energy is low. Someone else created a problem. More preparation seems necessary. These explanations can sound sensible while quietly protecting the habit of delay. Taking action without excuses does not mean ignoring real problems. It means learning to separate a genuine limitation from a convenient reason for doing nothing. This distinction can change how you handle almost every responsibility in your life. A genuine limitation requires adjustment. An excuse requires honesty. The skill is learning to know which one you are dealing with. Start by listening carefully to your own language. Notice how often you use words such as later, tomorrow, soon, busy, tired, difficult, unlucky, or impossible. These words are not automatically excuses. Sometimes they describe reality. The important part is what happens after you say them. Do you make a smaller plan, or do you stop completely? Suppose you planned to exercise for 40 minutes, but your schedule became crowded. A responsible response could be reducing the session to 15 minutes. An excuse would be using the busy day as a reason to do nothing. Suppose you planned to study for an hour, but your energy is low. You might study for 20 minutes and focus on one important topic. The goal is not to protect the original plan at all costs. The goal is to protect the habit of taking useful action. This gives you a practical rule for difficult days. Change the size of the action before you cancel the action completely. That one rule can help you stay consistent during travel, stressful work periods, family responsibilities, poor sleep, and unexpected problems. You are teaching yourself to adapt instead of abandon. There is another important lesson about excuses. Many excuses appear before the task has even started. Your mind predicts discomfort and creates a reason to avoid it. You may tell yourself that you will not concentrate today. You may assume the meeting will go badly. You may believe you are not ready to begin, yet you have not tested any of these predictions. Use action as a way to collect evidence. Work for 10 minutes before deciding that you cannot focus. Read the first page before deciding that the book is too difficult. Write the first paragraph before deciding that you cannot complete the report. Make the first phone call before deciding that the conversation will be uncomfortable. Action gives you information that thinking alone cannot provide. This is especially important because people often confuse preparation with progress. Preparation has value when it leads to action. It becomes avoidance when you keep preparing, because starting creates uncertainty. You can spend hours researching how to exercise while never exercising. You can watch hundreds of videos about communication while avoiding the conversation you need to have. You can build detailed plans while refusing to take the first measurable step. Set a limit on preparation. Give yourself 15 minutes to understand what needs to be done, then begin. You can improve the plan after you have real experience. A simple plan tested in real life is usually more useful than a perfect plan that remains in your notebook. Your environment also influences excuses more than you may realize. People often blame willpower when the real problem is constant access to distraction. A phone on the desk creates opportunities to escape difficult work. Open social media tabs create easy interruptions. A messy workspace creates small decisions that break attention. Reduce the number of choices that compete with your responsibility. Put your phone outside the room during focused work. Close unnecessary applications. Prepare your materials before starting. Tell people when you need uninterrupted time. Keep the first step visible. These changes make action easier without requiring you to feel stronger every morning. There will still be moments when you want to stop. Do not argue with yourself for 20 minutes. Use a simple countdown. Give yourself 5 minutes of focused effort. During those 5 minutes, you are not required to finish. You are only required to remain engaged with the task. Once the 5 minutes are complete, continue if possible. This method works because beginning is often more difficult than continuing. You should also learn to recognize the difference between tiredness and resistance. Real physical exhaustion may require rest. Mental resistance often appears as irritation, boredom, fear, or a sudden desire to do something easier. Both feelings can be strong, but they do not require the same response. Ask what your body actually needs. Do you need sleep, food, water, movement, or recovery? Or are you simply uncomfortable because the task demands concentration? This question prevents two common mistakes. One is pushing yourself when proper recovery is needed. The other is calling normal discomfort exhaustion. Excuses also become stronger when goals are vague. Saying that you want to become healthier does not tell you what to do at 8 in the morning. Saying that you want to become successful does not define today's responsibility. Clear actions reduce room for negotiation. Replace vague intentions with measurable behavior. Instead of saying, "You will work harder," decide to complete one important task before lunch. Instead of saying, "You will learn more," study one specific subject for 30 minutes. Instead of saying, "You will improve your communication," practice listening without interrupting during one conversation. Specific behavior gives you something you can actually complete. Another powerful exercise is the one-sentence responsibility test. Whenever you catch yourself making an excuse, finish this sentence. The part I can control is. Your answer may be small, but it gives you a starting point. You cannot control traffic, but you can leave earlier next time. You cannot control another person's mood, but you can control your tone. You cannot change yesterday's mistake, but you can correct the next step. This practice slowly changes your attention. Instead of spending your energy proving why something is difficult, you start searching for what can still be done. That is a major improvement in thinking. You move from explanation to responsibility. Do not confuse responsibility with self-criticism. Saying "I caused everything" is not useful and often untrue. A mature approach is more precise. Identify the facts. Identify your part. Identify what you can change. Then take action. Precision is better than guilt, because it gives you something practical to work with. Your daily schedule can also become a training ground for this principle. Choose one important task and give it a fixed starting time. Do not wait until you feel ready. At that time, begin with the smallest clear action. If the task is writing, open the page and write the first sentence. If it is cleaning, clear one surface. If it is studying, open the exact lesson. If it is exercise, put on your shoes and begin the planned movement. Starting at a fixed time teaches your mind that decisions do not always depend on mood. This is especially useful for work that has no immediate reward. You may not feel excited about studying vocabulary or reviewing expenses. The benefit comes later. Acting according to a schedule helps you work toward delayed results. There will be days when you fail to act. Do not turn one failure into a new excuse. Study what happened. Maybe the task was too large. Maybe you chose the wrong time. Maybe your environment created too many distractions. Maybe you did not prepare the materials. Change the system and try again. This is an important part of discipline. You are not trying to create a life where nothing goes wrong. You are learning to recover quickly when something does. A person who returns to useful action after a mistake becomes more reliable than someone who only performs well under perfect conditions. Before sleeping tonight, choose one task you have been delaying. Write the exact first action required. Decide when you will start. Prepare what you need. Remove one distraction. Then begin at the chosen time without negotiating with yourself. The next day, notice what happens. You may discover that the task was not as difficult as your mind predicted. You may discover that you need a better system. You may discover that you need more rest. Any of these results is useful because action produces information. The purpose of this training is not to eliminate every explanation from your life. It is to stop explanations from controlling your behavior. You can acknowledge a problem and still search for a workable response. You can feel tired and still complete a smaller responsibility. You can be uncertain and still take the first step. You can make a mistake and still repair what you can. Your future behavior is built through these ordinary moments. Each time you stop negotiating with an excuse and choose a useful action, you become more capable of directing yourself. Start with one responsibility today. Reduce it to a clear action. Remove one obstacle. Begin before you feel completely ready. Then let the result teach you what to do next. Chapter 4. Face personal weaknesses with honest daily effort. Weaknesses do not disappear because you dislike having them. They improve when you are willing to see them clearly and work on them regularly. Personal growth becomes serious when you stop protecting the version of yourself that needs improvement and start studying your behavior with honesty. The goal is not to judge yourself harshly. The goal is to understand yourself well enough to make better decisions. Every person has areas where they are less capable than they want to be. Some people struggle with patience, others avoid difficult conversations. Some cannot manage their time. Some lose control of their attention. Others start many tasks but rarely finish them. A weakness becomes more damaging when you refuse to identify it. You cannot improve a behavior that you constantly explain away. Start with observation rather than criticism. Watch yourself during an ordinary day. Notice what makes you irritated. Notice what you postpone. Notice where you lose concentration. Notice which responsibilities repeatedly remain unfinished. Notice what you do after making a mistake. Your behavior during normal situations can tell you more about your weaknesses than your opinion about yourself. Choose one weakness that creates a real cost in your life. Do not select 10 problems at once. If you try to correct everything together, you may become overwhelmed and lose the ability to measure progress. One carefully studied weakness can teach you more than a long list of promises. Give that one area your attention for the next several days. Suppose your weakness is poor time management. Do not simply write that you need to manage time better. Study where your time goes. Record what you do for one ordinary day in 30-minute sections. You may discover that the problem is not a lack of time. You may find that you spend too much time switching between tasks. You may notice that small phone checks become long sessions. You may see that you begin important work too late because easy tasks fill the morning. Once you know the behavior, you can change it. This is why honest observation is more useful than self-criticism. A vague statement such as, "I am lazy," gives you no clear solution. A precise statement such as, "I check my phone every few minutes during difficult work," gives you something you can address. Now, create a small correction. Put the phone in another room for 30 minutes. Work on one task without changing activities. At the end of the session, record how much work you completed. Repeat the test tomorrow. This gives you real evidence. You are no longer guessing about your ability to focus. You are training it and measuring the result. The same method works with emotional weaknesses. Consider impatience. You may believe that you are simply a direct person, but your behavior may show something different. You may interrupt people. You may become frustrated when someone takes too long to explain something. You may answer before understanding the full situation. Honest effort begins by noticing these moments without defending them. For one day, practice waiting 2 seconds before responding in conversations. Let the other person finish. Notice the urge to interrupt. Feel the discomfort without immediately acting on it. Then respond to what was actually said. This small exercise develops awareness because you begin noticing the space between an emotional reaction and your behavior. That space is important. You may not control the first feeling that appears, but you can improve what you do next. Someone can speak harshly to you and create anger. Your responsibility begins with your response. You can lower your voice. You can ask for clarification. You can pause before answering. You can leave the conversation briefly if continuing would make the situation worse. Another common weakness is avoiding feedback. Many people say they want to improve, but they only want information that confirms their current view. Useful feedback can feel uncomfortable because it exposes a gap between how you see yourself and how your behavior affects others. That discomfort can be valuable. Ask one trusted person a specific question. Do not ask whether you are a good person. Ask something measurable. You might ask where your communication becomes unclear. You might ask whether you listen well during disagreement. You might ask, what habit makes working with you more difficult? Then listen without defending yourself. You do not have to accept every opinion as truth. Evaluate the feedback carefully. Look for patterns. If several people mention the same behavior, pay attention. If the feedback describes a specific event, examine what happened. Good feedback gives you another view of your behavior. Use it as information rather than as an attack. Weaknesses also become easier to improve when you identify their triggers. A behavior rarely appears without a reason. You may become distracted when work becomes difficult. You may eat poorly when you are stressed. You may speak harshly when you feel ignored. You may procrastinate when a task is unclear. Find the situation that usually comes before the behavior. Then prepare a different response. If unclear work causes delay, spend 5 minutes defining the next action before starting. If stress causes you to speak too quickly, pause and take a breath before responding. If your phone interrupts study, remove it from the workspace. If tiredness leads to poor decisions, protect your sleep instead of expecting stronger willpower. This is a practical lesson that many people overlook. You do not always solve a weakness by becoming mentally stronger. Sometimes you solve it by changing the conditions around the behavior. A person who repeatedly loses focus may need fewer distractions. A person who forgets important tasks may need written reminders. A person who spends too much money may need automatic savings and fewer opportunities for unnecessary purchases. Good systems can support weak areas while you are developing them. There is no shame in using support. The purpose is to make better behavior easier to repeat. You should also expect improvement to be uneven. Some days you will handle your weakness well. Other days you will fall back into the old pattern. Do not use one poor day as proof that nothing has changed. Compare your behavior across weeks. Look for frequency, duration, and recovery. Maybe you still become impatient, but you recover in 2 minutes instead of 20. Maybe you still lose focus, but you return to the task faster. Maybe you still procrastinate, but you begin the work before the deadline becomes urgent. These are meaningful improvements because they show that your behavior is becoming more manageable. Keep a short daily record. Write one sentence about where the weakness appeared. Write one sentence about how you responded. Write one sentence about what you will change tomorrow. This takes only a few minutes, but it creates a record of your development. Be especially honest about the excuses you use to protect your weaknesses. A person may call fear careful planning. A person may call avoidance patience. A person may call poor preparation bad luck. A person may call uncontrolled spending self-care. The words we use can hide the behavior from us. Use plain language instead. I was afraid to make the call. I avoided the task because I did not understand it. I spent money because I wanted immediate comfort. I became angry because I felt disrespected. Clear language removes unnecessary confusion. Once the behavior is visible, you can work on it. Do not wait until you feel proud of yourself before doing the work. Honest improvement often feels ordinary. You may spend 30 minutes practicing something nobody notices. You may apologize without receiving praise. You may stay quiet during an argument. You may complete a boring responsibility correctly. These actions can look small from the outside while producing important changes inside your behavior. Choose one weakness today and study it without excuses. Find the situation that triggers it. Identify the behavior that follows. Decide what response you want to practice instead. Make that response small enough to repeat. Then give yourself another opportunity tomorrow. Personal growth becomes practical when self-knowledge turns into daily behavior. You do not need to hide your weaknesses to become stronger. You need to understand them clearly enough to work on them with patience and discipline. Every honest effort gives you information. Every correction improves your control. Every repeated improvement changes what you are capable of doing. Chapter 5. Raise your standards through consistent daily challenges. A higher standard changes your behavior long before it changes your results. The quality of your days is strongly influenced by what you consider acceptable from yourself. A person who accepts unfinished work repeatedly will eventually become comfortable with unfinished work. A person who expects careful effort from themselves begins to notice poor effort much sooner. Standards are not the same as perfection. Perfection demands an impossible level of performance. A standard simply defines the level of behavior you are willing to practice consistently. You can decide that you will arrive on time, complete important tasks before entertainment, keep your promises, speak respectfully, and review your work before sending it. These are standards because they describe behavior that can be observed. Look closely at your ordinary routines. Where have you quietly lowered your expectations? Maybe you regularly start the day late and then rush through everything. Maybe you submit work without checking it. Maybe you allow small, unfinished tasks to remain for weeks. Maybe you keep saying that you will exercise, but accept another inactive day without examining the pattern. These habits may feel normal because you have repeated them for a long time. The first practical step is to identify one standard that needs to rise. Choose something that affects your daily life. Do not choose an impressive goal that has little connection to your current responsibilities. If your workspace is always disorganized, create a standard for restoring it before you finish work. If your attention is constantly divided, create a standard for completing one focused work period each day. If you often arrive late, create a standard for preparing earlier. A standard becomes useful only when you define it clearly. Saying that you will do better tomorrow is too vague. Saying that you will check every important email once before sending it is measurable. Saying that you will become more disciplined is unclear. Saying that you will complete your most important task before opening entertainment is specific. Clear standards reduce the amount of daily negotiation you have with yourself. Your standards should also match your current responsibilities. A person who has a demanding job and family responsibilities may need a different routine from someone with a flexible schedule. The purpose is not to copy another person's lifestyle. The purpose is to improve the quality of your own decisions within the life you actually have. Consistency becomes important here because occasional excellence can hide weak habits. You might clean your entire room once a month and still live in disorder most days. You might work for 10 hours one Saturday and still waste your most productive hours during the week. You might exercise intensely once and then stop for several days. Strong standards are visible in repeated behavior. Use smaller daily challenges to make consistency easier. Pick one area and create a 7-day test. During those 7 days, follow one clear rule. Complete your priority task before entertainment. Read for 20 minutes. Review your spending each evening. Practice a skill for 30 minutes. Keep your workspace organized. The challenge should be simple enough to repeat and meaningful enough to require attention. Do not judge the 7 days only by the final result. Study your behavior. Notice which days were easy and which were difficult. Notice what interrupted your plan. Notice what time of day worked best. Notice what you did immediately before breaking your standard. These details help you improve the system instead of simply demanding more willpower. There is an important difference between raising a standard and increasing the workload. You do not always need to do more. Sometimes you need to do the same amount with greater care. Reading 10 pages with attention can be better than rushing through 30. Completing 3 important tasks properly can be more valuable than touching 10 tasks without finishing them. A higher standard often means better quality rather than greater quantity. This matters because constant pressure can create poor judgment. People sometimes believe that working harder means saying yes to everything. Soon, their schedule becomes crowded, their attention becomes weak, and their work becomes careless. A mature standard includes knowing what deserves your effort. You can improve your performance by removing unnecessary commitments instead of adding more. Look at the promises you make. Every promise creates an expectation. If you regularly promise more than you can deliver, people eventually learn that your words are uncertain. Raise your standard by becoming more careful about commitments. Say yes when you can reasonably complete the responsibility. Say no when accepting it would make you unreliable. Then keep the commitments you make. This is one of the simplest ways to strengthen self-respect. Your relationship with yourself also depends on whether your actions match your decisions. Every time you make a realistic commitment and honor it, you create consistency between what you say and what you do. Challenge yourself to improve that consistency for 1 week. Choose one promise you make to yourself each morning. It could be as simple as completing a 20-minute study session. Do not add 5 more promises, keep 1. The purpose is to observe what happens when you stop making large plans and start keeping smaller ones. Once that becomes stable, increase the difficulty slightly. Add 10 minutes. Choose a harder topic. Start earlier. Remove another distraction. Take on a responsibility that requires more patience. The increase should be small enough that you can maintain it while still feeling that you are developing. This gradual increase matters because your standards should grow with your capacity. You do not need to force a huge change in 1 day. You need to create repeated evidence that you can handle a little more responsibility. Over time, yesterday's difficult task becomes today's normal task. You can use this process in physical health as well. Start with a realistic exercise commitment. Once your body adapts, increase duration or difficulty carefully. The same idea applies to learning. Begin with a manageable study period. Improve your concentration. Then increase the complexity of what you study. In work, improve the quality of one important task before taking on additional projects. Your environment should reflect your standards too. If you want focused work, create a place where focused work is possible. Keep the tools you need nearby. Remove unnecessary distractions. If you want better eating habits, make useful food easier to access and impulsive choices less convenient. If you want to read more, keep your current book visible instead of hidden inside a drawer. This is not about creating a perfect environment. It is about reducing friction between your intention and your behavior. A good standard becomes easier to follow when your surroundings support it. Another useful challenge is to improve something before anyone complains about it. Do not wait for a manager to point out an error. Review your work first. Do not wait for someone at home to complain about a neglected responsibility. Handle it early. Do not wait until your finances become stressful before reviewing them. Check them regularly. This creates proactive behavior. You begin solving problems while they are still small. That saves time and reduces emotional pressure. It also changes how others experience you, because reliability becomes part of your normal behavior. There will be days when you fall below your standard. Treat that event as data. Ask what caused it. Was the standard unrealistic? Did you sleep poorly? Did you accept too many tasks? Did an unexpected problem appear? Did you allow a distraction to control your attention? The answer tells you what adjustment to make. Do not lower a useful standard simply because one day was difficult. Adjust the method if necessary. A person who cannot complete an hour of exercise may still walk for 20 minutes. A person who cannot study for an hour may study for 15. The standard can remain important while the daily method changes according to reality. You should also avoid comparing your standards with other people's standards. Someone else may have different responsibilities, resources, experience, and priorities. Comparison can create pressure without providing useful information. Measure yourself against your own previous behavior and ask whether your current actions reflect the person you are trying to become. At the end of each day, use a simple review. Ask what standard you followed today. Ask where you lowered it. Ask what caused that change. Then decide one adjustment for tomorrow. This takes only a few minutes, but it keeps your standards visible. After several weeks, you may notice something important. The behavior that once required serious effort begins to feel ordinary. That is a sign of development. Do not immediately abandon the habit because it has become easy. Use the new capacity to take on a slightly greater challenge. This is how standards rise without creating unnecessary pressure. You improve one behavior, you repeat it until it becomes stable. You increase the demand, you observe the result, you correct the weak point, then you continue. Your daily challenges should make you more dependable, more capable, and more careful with your choices. They should help you produce better work, manage your time with greater purpose, communicate with greater control, and handle responsibility without constant pressure. Raise one standard today. Make it specific, make it measurable, make it realistic enough to repeat. Then protect it through your actions rather than your intentions. The quality you demand from yourself in ordinary moments will gradually become the quality people can expect from you every day. Chapter 6. Strengthen your discipline by keeping promises. Discipline becomes stronger each time your actions support a promise you made to yourself. A promise does not become meaningful because you say it with strong emotion. It becomes meaningful when you remember it later and still choose to honor it. Your daily life gives you many chances to practice this kind of personal reliability. Most people make promises to themselves very casually. They say they will wake up earlier, they will read more, they will exercise tomorrow, they will stop wasting time. They will finish an important project. The promise feels good in the moment because it creates a picture of improvement. The real test comes several hours later when the excitement disappears and the responsibility remains. Start by making fewer promises. This may sound strange, but it is an important discipline lesson. A person who promises 10 changes and keeps 2 may feel disappointed. A person who promises 2 realistic changes and keeps both begins to build trust in their own word. Your goal is not to create an impressive list. Your goal is to become reliable. Choose one promise that matters to your current life. Make it specific enough that you cannot misunderstand it. Do not say you will work harder. Decide that you will spend 30 minutes on your most important task before entertainment. Do not say you will read more. Decide that you will read 10 pages before going to sleep. Do not say you will exercise regularly. Choose the exact days and duration. Then make the promise small enough to survive an ordinary difficult day. This is important because your discipline is not tested only during comfortable periods. A useful commitment should still be possible when your schedule becomes busy or your energy drops. You can always increase the demand later. First, build the habit of keeping your word. There is a quiet psychological effect that comes from breaking promises to yourself repeatedly. You begin expecting your own plans to disappear. You tell yourself that you will start tomorrow because your past behavior has taught you that tomorrow is always available. Over time, this weakens the seriousness of your decisions. The solution is not more self-criticism. The solution is making one realistic commitment and honoring it consistently. Write your promise down. Use simple language. Put it somewhere you will see it at the right time. If your commitment is connected to your morning, place it beside your bed. If it concerns work, put it near your desk. If it concerns exercise, prepare the clothes and equipment before the planned time. You are making the desired behavior easier to remember and harder to ignore. Another useful practice is to attach the promise to an existing part of your day. Read after breakfast. Review your schedule after making your morning drink. Exercise after finishing work. Prepare tomorrow's tasks before dinner. This reduces the number of decisions involved. You do not need to repeatedly decide whether you should act. The existing routine becomes the signal for the new behavior. Pay attention to the moment you begin negotiating with yourself. You may hear thoughts such as, "I can do it later," or "Today has been difficult," or "One missed day will not matter." Sometimes those thoughts contain useful information. Sometimes they are simply attempts to escape temporary discomfort. Do not argue with every thought. Look at the commitment you made and examine whether the reason for changing it is genuinely important. There is a major difference between changing a promise responsibly and breaking it casually. Suppose an unexpected family responsibility requires your attention. Adjusting your plan may be reasonable. Suppose you are simply bored and want entertainment instead. That is different. Learning to identify the difference helps you become flexible without becoming unreliable. You should also practice keeping promises that nobody else knows about. Private commitments are especially useful because there is no social pressure to perform. Nobody will know whether you read the pages. Nobody will ask whether you completed the walk. Nobody will see whether you reviewed your work carefully. You still know what happened. That private knowledge can become a powerful measure of your discipline. Choose one small private commitment today. Complete it without telling anyone. Then notice how it feels to know that you did exactly what you said you would do. The value comes from the consistency between your decision and your behavior. Discipline also improves when you stop making promises based on temporary emotion. A powerful moment can make you want to change everything at once. You may feel ready to wake early, exercise daily, study for hours, remove every distraction, and completely reorganize your life. The feeling can be genuine, but your plan still needs to be realistic. Wait until your emotion settles before deciding what you can maintain. Ask what you can honestly repeat for the next 30 days. This question produces better commitments because it forces you to consider ordinary life rather than one unusually energetic day. There is another important part of keeping promises. Finish what you start whenever the commitment is still useful. Many people enjoy beginnings because beginnings feel fresh. They buy the book, create the schedule, download the course, start the workout plan, or organize the desk. The difficult part is continuing after the novelty disappears. Create a completion rule for important tasks. Decide what finished means before you begin. A project is not finished when you feel tired of it. A lesson is not finished because you watched the video. Learning requires practice and recall. A work task is not finished simply because you spent time on it. It is finished when the agreed result is produced. This distinction can improve your discipline because it changes your focus from activity to completion. You stop asking whether you spent enough time and start asking whether you produced what was required. Use the same principle with personal goals. If you promise yourself that you will learn a skill, define the first measurable result. If you want to improve your writing, complete a certain number of practice sessions. If you want better fitness, track the sessions you actually complete. If you want better financial control, review your spending on a fixed day each week. Measurement removes some of the confusion around discipline. You can see whether your behavior matches your intention. You can also notice improvement that might otherwise be missed. Do not use measurement to punish yourself. Use it to make decisions. If you completed 4 sessions instead of 5, ask why. If your schedule was too crowded, change the timing. If the task was too demanding, reduce the starting size. If distractions cause the problem, change the environment. Good measurement should lead to better planning. Your promises should also include promises about how you treat other people. Tell someone you will call and call them. Agree to arrive at a certain time and respect that time. Say you will complete a responsibility and complete it without repeated reminders. Reliability is not only a personal quality, it affects trust. A person who keeps commitments becomes easier to work with and easier to depend on. People do not need constant reassurance because your behavior provides evidence. That kind of trust develops slowly through repeated ordinary actions. Tonight, choose one promise for tomorrow. Write the exact action. Choose the time. Prepare what you need. Remove one obstacle. Then, protect that commitment from unnecessary negotiation. Tomorrow, complete it even if the action feels ordinary, especially when it feels ordinary. Discipline is not built only during major challenges. It develops through the quiet moments when nobody is watching and there is no reward for doing what you said you would do. Once you keep one promise consistently, make another carefully chosen commitment. Increase the responsibility only after the first behavior becomes stable. This allows your discipline to grow without creating a schedule that collapses under pressure. Your word should gradually become something you respect, not because every promise you make is perfect, but because you learn to make commitments carefully and honor them seriously. Start with one promise. Keep it today. Keep it tomorrow. Keep it when the excitement is gone. Let your behavior become the evidence that you can depend on yourself. Chapter 7. Test your limits with meaningful daily actions. Your limits are often unknown until you test them through real action. Many people decide what they can handle before giving themselves a fair opportunity to find out. They stop because a task feels difficult. They assume they are not capable because they have never practiced long enough. A meaningful challenge gives you evidence about your actual capacity instead of relying on assumptions. Testing your limits does not mean exhausting yourself every day. It means carefully asking for a little more from your current ability. The extra demand should have a purpose. You might concentrate for a longer period, learn something more difficult, complete a task with greater care, speak more clearly during an uncomfortable conversation, or take responsibility for something you normally avoid. The action should improve your capacity rather than simply consume your energy. Start by identifying an area where you have reached a comfortable level. Perhaps you can study for 20 minutes without much trouble. Perhaps you can walk for 30 minutes. Perhaps you can write 500 words. Perhaps you can work on one task without checking your phone for 25 minutes. That current level gives you a useful starting point. Now, increase the demand slightly. Study for 30 minutes. Walk for 40. Write 600 words. Work for 35 minutes without checking messages. The increase should feel challenging, but manageable. You are testing capacity, not trying to prove something through exhaustion. This approach teaches an important lesson about personal limits. A limit is not always a fixed fact. Sometimes it is simply the point where you have stopped practicing. A person who struggles to focus for 20 minutes may eventually focus for an hour through gradual training. Someone who cannot comfortably handle a difficult conversation may become better at it after repeated practice. Someone who feels incapable of learning a complex skill may improve after breaking the skill into smaller parts. The key is controlled progression. You need enough difficulty to create adaptation, but not so much that you cannot recover or repeat the effort. This principle applies to many areas of life. Strong improvement usually comes from increasing demands gradually while paying attention to how your body and mind respond. Use a simple challenge record. Write the activity, your current level, the increased target, and what happened. Suppose you normally read for 15 minutes and decide to read for 25. Record whether you completed it. Then note how difficult it felt. You may discover that the first 10 extra minutes were uncomfortable but manageable. That information helps you choose the next level. Do not judge yourself only by whether you reached the target. Study the reason behind the result. Maybe your concentration was strong for 20 minutes and then declined because you were hungry. Maybe the material was too difficult. Maybe your environment was noisy. Maybe you started too late in the day. Testing limits should teach you how you function under different conditions. There is also value in testing your emotional limits. Consider how quickly you react during disagreement. A meaningful challenge could be staying calm long enough to understand the other person's point before responding. You are not trying to become passive. You are practicing control. During your next disagreement, notice the physical signs of anger. Your breathing may become faster. Your voice may become louder. Your body may become tense. Instead of immediately responding, slow your speech. Ask one clear question. Listen to the answer. Then decide what needs to be said. This exercise tests your ability to remain thoughtful under emotional pressure. Another useful test involves attention. Choose one activity that deserves your full concentration. Remove your phone. Close unnecessary windows. Set a timer for 40 minutes. During that period, work only on the chosen task. Do not measure success by how much you enjoy it. Measure whether you stayed with it. The first attempt may reveal how often your mind searches for stimulation. You may suddenly want to check a message. You may remember an unrelated task. You may feel an urge to stand up. Notice these impulses without immediately obeying them. Return your attention to the work. Each return is part of the training. You can also test your ability to handle boredom. This is useful because many valuable activities become repetitive. Studying vocabulary can be boring. Reviewing financial records can be boring. Cleaning can be boring. Practicing basic skills can be boring. Yet these activities often produce results through repetition. Choose one routine task and complete it without entertainment. No music, no videos, no phone. Give the task your attention. You may notice that boredom rises and then becomes less intense. That experience teaches you that boredom does not always require an immediate distraction. Test your physical limits responsibly as well. Do not increase exercise intensity without considering your current condition. The useful challenge might be walking a little longer, improving technique, adding a few controlled repetitions, or maintaining a regular schedule. The goal is to build capacity safely rather than chase exhaustion. Rest is part of this process. A person who continually increases demands without recovery may become less effective. Your body needs time to adapt. Your mind also needs periods without constant effort. A meaningful challenge should leave you capable of returning to useful work rather than leaving you unable to function normally. You can apply the same principle to learning. Choose a topic slightly above your current level. Spend 20 minutes studying it. Then close the material and explain what you remember without looking. This second step is important because recognition is not the same as understanding. You may feel familiar with a subject while discovering that you cannot explain it clearly. Use your difficulty as information. If you cannot explain the topic, identify the exact part you do not understand. Review that section. Try again. This creates a better learning process than repeatedly reading the same material without checking what you actually know. Testing your limits can also improve your courage. Choose one action that you avoid because you fear judgment. Ask a useful question during a meeting. Share an honest opinion respectfully. Apply for an opportunity that matches your ability. Introduce yourself to someone professionally. Ask for feedback. These actions may create discomfort, but the discomfort gives you a chance to discover what you can handle. Do not make the challenge unnecessarily dramatic. You do not need to perform in front of a large crowd to develop courage. A small conversation can be enough. The value comes from acting despite reasonable discomfort and learning from what happens. At the end of each challenge, ask 3 questions. What did I believe I could do before starting? What did I actually do? What should I change for the next attempt? These questions turn experience into knowledge. Be careful with one common mistake. Do not confuse pushing your limits with ignoring warning signs. Severe pain, extreme exhaustion, serious emotional distress, or clear health problems should not be treated as tests of character. A responsible person knows the difference between useful discomfort and harmful strain. The purpose of challenge is development. You should also test your ability to recover. After a difficult task, return to normal responsibilities without complaining about the effort. Take appropriate rest. Eat properly. Organize your next step. Recovery teaches you how to manage increased demands over time. A meaningful daily action should leave you with one of three results. You become more skilled, you become more disciplined, or you understand yourself better. Sometimes you will gain all three. Tomorrow, choose one ability you want to expand. Increase the demand slightly. Record what happens. Do not compare your performance with someone else's. Compare it with your previous capacity. Your goal is to discover whether you can handle more than you handled before. The process becomes powerful because each test gives you evidence. You learn how long you can focus. You learn how much preparation you need. You learn how you respond to pressure. You learn which distractions weaken you. You learn where your skills need more practice. This information allows you to build a life around reality instead of assumptions. Your limits should be investigated through action. Take one meaningful step beyond your current level today. Observe your response carefully. Learn from the result. Adjust the next challenge, then return and test yourself again. Each measured challenge can expand what you are able to handle and give you a clearer understanding of what you can become through disciplined practice. Chapter 8. Use failure to improve your next attempt. Failure becomes useful the moment you stop treating it as a final judgment and start treating it as information. A missed goal does not automatically tell you that you lack ability. A poor result can reveal a weak method, poor timing, missing knowledge, weak preparation, or an unrealistic target. The important question is not whether something went wrong. The important question is what the result can teach you before you try again. Most people respond to failure emotionally before they respond intelligently. They feel embarrassed, they become frustrated, they blame another person, they avoid thinking about the event because remembering it feels uncomfortable. This reaction is understandable, but it often wastes the most valuable part of the experience. A mistake contains information that can improve your next decision. Start by separating the event from your identity. Saying, "I failed at this task," is different from saying, "I am a failure." The first statement describes an event. The second turns one event into a judgment about your entire character. That judgment is usually too broad to be useful. You need specific information because specific information leads to specific changes. Take a recent mistake and describe exactly what happened. Avoid emotional words at first. Write the facts. The project was submitted 2 days late. The presentation contained 3 incorrect numbers. The exam score was lower than expected. The conversation became an argument. The workout plan stopped after 1 week. Once the event is clear, you can study it without adding unnecessary shame. Then ask what part of the result came from preparation. Many failures are visible long before the final moment. A person misses a deadline because they started too late. A student performs poorly because they only reread notes instead of testing their memory. A presentation goes badly because the speaker practiced the words but never practiced answering questions. A financial problem grows because spending was never reviewed. This leads to an important lesson. Effort and preparation are not the same thing. You can work hard using a weak method. You can spend many hours studying and still learn poorly. You can spend weeks preparing a project and still ignore the most important requirement. After a disappointing result, examine not only how much effort you gave, but whether the effort was directed toward the right actions. Use a failure review with 4 simple areas. Identify what you expected. Identify what actually happened. Identify the biggest difference between the two. Then identify one change for the next attempt. This prevents the review from becoming a long emotional discussion about everything that went wrong. Suppose you expected to finish a report in 3 days, but needed 5. The useful lesson may not be that you work slowly. Perhaps you underestimated the research time. Perhaps you started writing before understanding the requirements. Perhaps interruptions consumed your afternoons. The next attempt can include a research estimate, an earlier starting point, and protected work periods. This is how failure becomes practical education. You change the method rather than simply demanding more effort. Another useful practice is to identify the earliest point where the result could have changed. This is different from focusing only on the final mistake. A failed project may appear to have gone wrong during the final presentation, but the real problem may have started during planning. A missed deadline may look like a problem on the final day, but the key mistake may have been accepting too much work at the beginning. Finding the earliest important error gives you more control. Correcting an early problem is usually easier than repairing its consequences later. You should also examine decisions made under pressure. People often make poor choices because they try to escape discomfort quickly. They send an angry message. They quit a difficult task. They make a rushed purchase. They choose an easy solution without checking the long-term cost. Afterward, they regret the decision. Ask what feeling was present immediately before the poor choice. Was it fear, anger, embarrassment, boredom, pressure, confusion? Once you identify the feeling, you can prepare a different response for the next situation. For example, if anger caused you to send a message you later regretted, create a rule for future conflicts. Write the message but wait before sending it. Read it again after your body has calmed down. Remove statements that attack the other person. Keep only the facts and the request. The failure has now produced a better communication system. A failed attempt can also reveal unrealistic expectations. Some people set goals based on what they wish they could do rather than what their current schedule supports. They plan 2 hours of study after a full workday. They promise daily exercise without considering travel or family responsibilities. They expect immediate skill improvement after a few practice sessions. An unrealistic target can create repeated disappointment. The answer is not always to work harder. Sometimes the target needs adjustment. Set a goal that stretches your current ability without ignoring the conditions of your life. There is value in keeping a record of repeated mistakes. You may notice that the same type of problem appears in different situations. You miss deadlines at work. You forget appointments. You leave tasks until the last minute. The common issue may be poor planning rather than bad luck. A pattern is more valuable than a single event because it points toward a deeper skill that needs development. Create a small mistake log. Record the date, the problem, the cause, and the change you will test. Do not write long explanations. The purpose is to create a record you can review once a week. Patterns become easier to see after several entries. You should also study successful attempts, especially after failure. Ask what worked during the times you performed well. Maybe you prepared earlier. Maybe you removed distractions. Maybe you had clear instructions. Maybe you asked for help. Understanding success gives you a system to repeat. Understanding failure shows you what needs correction. Another mistake is expecting confidence before trying again. Confidence often comes after repeated attempts rather than before them. Your second attempt does not need to feel comfortable. It needs to include one meaningful improvement from the first attempt. If you failed because you lacked knowledge, learn that knowledge before trying again. If preparation was weak, improve preparation. If timing caused the problem, change the schedule. If communication failed, practice the conversation. If distraction was the issue, change the environment. The second attempt should contain evidence that you learned something. Do not simply repeat the same process and hope for a different result. Repeating the same method without examining it can turn one failure into a pattern. Improvement requires a change somewhere. It may be small, but it must be intentional. There is also an emotional skill involved in trying again. You may remember the disappointment. You may feel nervous about being embarrassed again. That feeling does not need to disappear before you act. You can carry the discomfort and still use what you learned. Give yourself a short period to feel disappointed, then return to analysis. This creates a boundary between emotion and decision-making. You are allowed to be upset, but you do not have to let the emotion decide your next move. Talk to someone experienced when your own analysis is incomplete. A teacher, colleague, coach, or trusted person may see a problem you cannot see. Ask them about the process rather than asking them to judge you. Ask what they would change. Ask where the biggest weakness appeared. Ask what they would practice before trying again. Good questions turn failure into education. Before your next attempt, write one sentence that describes the lesson you learned. Then write the exact behavior that will change. Do not write that you will try harder. Write what you will do differently. The difference between these two statements is important because effort is difficult to measure while behavior is visible. After the next attempt, compare the results. Maybe the outcome improves. Maybe it does not. If it still fails, you have another set of information. Continue examining the process. Improvement is often a sequence of adjustments rather than one perfect correction. The person who learns from mistakes develops an advantage because every difficult experience can increase their knowledge. A failed conversation can teach better communication. A poor financial decision can teach stronger planning. A missed deadline can teach better scheduling. A weak performance can reveal a skill that needs practice. Failure does not automatically improve anyone. Reflection and correction are what create the improvement. Use your next mistake differently. Do not hide it from yourself. Do not turn it into an identity. Study the facts. Find the earliest important error. Identify the cause. Change one part of the method. Try again with better information. Let the experience make your next decision more intelligent than the one that came before it. The result may still be imperfect. That is acceptable. Your responsibility is to keep learning from what happens and make the next attempt more informed, more prepared, and more controlled than the previous one. Chapter 9. Demand more from yourself. Each morning. Your morning gives you an early opportunity to decide what deserves your attention. The first part of the day can reveal whether you are directing your behavior or simply reacting to whatever appears in front of you. Demanding more from yourself each morning does not mean creating a harsh routine. It means starting the day with a clear responsibility and completing something that improves your life. A useful morning is not defined by waking at a particular hour. People have different schedules and responsibilities. The important factor is what you do after you become available for the day. Someone can wake at 5 and waste 3 hours. Someone else can wake later and use the first hour with excellent focus. The quality of the morning depends more on deliberate action than on the clock. Begin by removing the habit of immediately consuming information. Messages, notifications, news, and social media can fill your attention before you have decided what matters. This creates a reactive start. Someone else chooses what you see, what you think about, and what receives your emotional energy. Try giving yourself the first 20 minutes without unnecessary information. Drink water, wash up, sit quietly. Review your schedule. Write down the most important task. Stretch or walk. Read a few pages. The activity can be simple. The purpose is to give your own priorities a place in your mind before outside demands enter. There is a practical reason this works. Every morning contains a limited amount of fresh attention. Your mind may become less focused after repeated decisions, interruptions, and emotional reactions. Protecting some early attention can make it easier to complete work that requires concentration. Do not fill this time with a complicated routine that takes longer to manage than the benefit it provides. A morning routine should support your responsibilities rather than become another responsibility. Choose a few actions that improve your physical state. Clarify your priorities and begin useful work. One powerful morning practice is choosing the day's hardest important task. This does not necessarily mean the task that takes the longest. It means the task that creates the most value or that you are most likely to avoid. Give that task an early place in your schedule. Your mind often creates reasons to postpone difficult work. The task may feel uncomfortable because the outcome matters. It may require concentration. It may involve uncertainty. It may contain decisions you would rather delay. Completing it earlier can prevent hours of mental background pressure. You do not need to finish the entire task before doing anything else. Start with a clear first stage. If you need to write a report, create the structure. If you need to study, complete the first lesson. If you need to prepare a presentation, write the main points. If you need to solve a work problem, identify the exact issue and gather the required information. The morning challenge should be specific enough that you can tell whether you did it. This prevents vague goals from creating false satisfaction. You should know exactly what action counts as progress. Demanding more from yourself also means demanding better attention. Many people spend the morning moving between tasks. They answer messages, check email, read articles, open documents, return to messages, and then wonder why important work remains unfinished. Activity creates the feeling of productivity without necessarily producing useful results. Choose one focused period. It might be 20 minutes or 1 hour depending on your schedule. During that period, work on one important activity. Keep unrelated tasks outside that time. This trains your ability to stay with something long enough to produce a meaningful result. Another useful challenge is making your first decision before distractions begin. Write down 3 priorities, not 10, 3. Then identify which one matters most. This simple process forces you to separate important work from everything that happens to be available. You can also decide what you will not do. Do not open social media before completing the first work period. Do not check every notification immediately. Do not accept unnecessary requests without looking at your schedule. Saying no to low-value activity protects the time you need for high-value work. This is not about becoming unavailable to everyone. Emergencies and important responsibilities may require immediate attention. The purpose is to stop treating every notification as an emergency. Your morning can also become a training ground for physical discipline. Move your body in a way that suits your current condition. Walk outside, stretch, do basic exercises, practice a sport. The exact activity matters less than creating a regular opportunity to care for your physical capacity. Pay attention to how movement affects your state. You may notice that your body feels stiff after sleeping. A short walk can increase alertness. Light movement can help you transition from rest into activity. You do not need an extreme workout to gain this benefit. Food and water also influence how you experience the morning. A simple breakfast and adequate hydration can support normal energy. You do not need complicated rules. Pay attention to what leaves you feeling stable and what leaves you uncomfortable or distracted. Personal observation is more useful than blindly copying another person's routine. There is another morning challenge that can improve your character. Make your first interaction with another person deliberate. Speak calmly. Listen carefully. Avoid unnecessary irritation. Do not carry yesterday's frustration into today's conversations. A strong morning is not only about personal productivity, it also affects how you treat people. If you live with family, use a few minutes to give them proper attention. If you work with others, communicate clearly. If you are alone, use the quiet time to prepare mentally for the responsibilities ahead. Your behavior in the morning can influence the emotional tone of the rest of the day. One of the most useful practices is deciding the night before what the morning will require. Put important materials in place. Choose the first task. Prepare your clothing. Organize your workspace. Write the priorities. This reduces morning decision fatigue. The fewer unnecessary decisions you need to make, the more attention remains for important work. You do not need to decide every morning whether you will exercise. You can decide once that movement belongs in your routine and then follow the schedule. There will be mornings when everything goes wrong. You may wake late. You may feel tired. Someone may need your help. A problem may appear before breakfast. Do not use a disrupted morning as a reason to abandon the entire day. Use a minimum version of your routine. Take 5 minutes to identify priorities. Complete one small useful task. Then continue with the day. The goal is to maintain direction even when conditions are imperfect. You should also review your mornings regularly. At the end of each week, ask which morning habits actually improved your day. Remove habits that create unnecessary complexity. Keep the actions that produce useful results. Adjust the timing if needed. This review prevents your routine from becoming a performance. You are not trying to look disciplined. You are trying to become more capable of managing your time, attention, energy, and responsibilities. Demand more from yourself, but make the demand intelligent. Ask yourself to start instead of delay. Ask yourself to focus instead of constantly switch. Ask yourself to complete an important task before seeking easy entertainment. Ask yourself to treat your body with care, Ask yourself to speak with control. Ask yourself to use the early part of the day intentionally. Do not measure your morning by how impressive it looks. Measure it by what useful behavior it produces. Tomorrow, choose one morning challenge. Keep your phone away for the first 20 minutes. Write your 3 priorities. Complete one focused work period. Take a short walk. Finish one task you normally postpone. Pick one action that requires you to take control of your attention. Repeat it long enough to understand its effect. Then improve it. Your mornings do not need to become perfect. They need to become more intentional. A person who starts each day with a clear responsibility gradually changes the way they approach the rest of life. The morning becomes a daily opportunity to practice focus, responsibility, health, patience, and purposeful work. Each new day gives you another chance to choose what deserves your attention and to prove through your actions that your priorities are more important than your impulses. Chapter 10. Transform daily challenges into lasting personal growth. Lasting personal growth does not come from having a few powerful days. It comes from turning useful daily actions into permanent changes in how you live. A challenge matters most when it teaches you something that remains after the challenge is over. The real measure of growth is not how difficult yesterday was, but how differently you handle today because of what yesterday taught you. Many people complete a difficult task and then move on without studying what happened. They work hard for a week, feel proud, and return to the same habits. They finish a demanding project, but they do not improve their planning. They complete a fitness challenge, but they never build a sustainable routine. They face a difficult conversation, but they never examine what helped them stay calm. The effort was real, but the lesson was lost. You need a process that converts experience into improvement. After completing a challenge, pause and ask what changed in you. Did you become more patient? Did you learn a new skill? Did you discover that you can concentrate longer than you expected? Did you become better at managing pressure? Did you learn how much preparation you actually need? The answer identifies what should become part of your normal behavior. A useful challenge should leave behind a practical habit. Suppose you challenged yourself to wake up earlier for 10 days. The lasting benefit is not simply waking early. Perhaps you discovered that preparing your clothes and work materials at night made your mornings easier. That preparation can remain even after the challenge ends. The challenge revealed a useful system. This is an important difference between temporary effort and lasting growth. Temporary effort asks you to complete something difficult. Lasting growth asks you to keep the useful lesson. You are not collecting difficult experiences. You are collecting better ways to live. Start creating a personal record of lessons. At the end of each week, write down 3 things you learned about yourself. Keep them specific. I work better before checking messages. I lose focus after switching between tasks. I become impatient when I am hungry. I prepare better when I start the night before. These observations become personal knowledge because they come from your own experience. Personal knowledge is valuable because general advice does not always fit your life. Someone may tell you to work early in the morning, but your responsibilities may make evening work more effective. Someone may recommend studying for 3 hours, while your attention may be stronger during several shorter sessions. Someone may tell you to use a complex productivity system, while a simple written list may work better for you. Study yourself, instead of copying everyone else. Your goal is to discover which actions consistently produce better results for you. Another important step is turning lessons into rules. A lesson says you noticed something. A personal rule tells you what you will do because of that knowledge. If you discover that checking your phone destroys your concentration, create a rule that your phone stays outside the workspace during focused work. If late preparation causes stress, create a rule that important materials are prepared the evening before. Rules reduce repeated decision-making. You do not need to debate the same issue every day. You have already studied the result and decided what works better. Your rules should remain flexible enough to match reality. A rule should guide your behavior, not control you blindly. Unexpected responsibilities will appear. Health, work, family, travel, and emergencies can change your schedule. A mature system allows adjustment without abandoning the principle. For example, your normal rule may be to study for 40 minutes each evening. During a demanding week, you may reduce the session to 15 minutes. The purpose is to preserve learning rather than protect an exact number. Once your schedule becomes stable, you can return to the larger session. This approach prevents all or nothing thinking. You do not need a perfect week to make progress. You need a system that helps you return to useful behavior after disruption. Long-term growth also requires reviewing the direction of your challenges. You should not continue challenging yourself randomly. Ask whether the challenges are helping you become more capable in the areas that matter. A person can become extremely disciplined at activities that produce little value. You can spend hours organizing your workspace while avoiding important work. You can consume endless educational content without practicing the skill. Choose challenges according to the person and life you are trying to build. If you want stronger professional ability, challenge your knowledge and work quality. If you want healthier relationships, challenge your listening and communication. If you want better financial control, challenge your spending habits and planning. If you want stronger self-control, practice delaying unnecessary rewards. This creates alignment between effort and purpose. There is another part of lasting growth that people often ignore. You need periods of consolidation. After learning something difficult, give yourself time to use it repeatedly. Do not keep adding new goals every week. Let one improvement become stable before demanding another major change. For example, once you establish a reliable reading habit, use what you read. Take notes, explain an idea to someone, apply one lesson at work. A book becomes more valuable when its information changes behavior. Learning without application can create the feeling of progress without the benefits of actual improvement. The same principle applies to challenges. If you challenge yourself to become more patient, use that patience in real conversations. If you challenge yourself to become more organized, use the system to manage real responsibilities. If you challenge yourself to become more courageous, use that courage to handle an actual issue you have avoided. Growth becomes permanent through application. You should also measure changes that matter over longer periods. Daily results can be misleading. One excellent day does not prove a habit is established. One difficult day does not erase several weeks of improvement. Look at your behavior over 30 days or more. Ask whether you are completing more important work. Ask whether you recover faster from mistakes. Ask whether you need fewer reminders. Ask whether your reactions are more controlled. Ask whether your skills have improved. Ask whether you are making better decisions under pressure. These are signs of personal development that cannot always be seen in a single day. Keep your measurements simple. You do not need to track every detail of your life. Choose 2 or 3 behaviors that matter most and observe them consistently. Too much measurement can become another distraction. You also need to protect your growth from unnecessary comparison. Other people may appear far ahead because you can see their results, but not the years of practice behind them. Your useful comparison is your own previous behavior. Are you more reliable than you were 6 months ago? Are you better prepared? Do you communicate with greater control? Do you finish more of what you begin? These questions give you a realistic picture of development. There will be periods when progress feels slow. That does not mean the process has stopped. Some improvements are visible only after enough repetition has accumulated. A person learning a language may practice for months before conversations become easier. Someone developing physical strength may notice small changes before seeing major results. A person improving emotional control may still feel anger while becoming much better at choosing a response. Look for changes in behavior before looking for dramatic results. You should also teach what you learn. Explaining a useful principle to another person can reveal whether you truly understand it. You may discover that an idea sounded clear in your head, but becomes difficult to explain. That difficulty shows you where your understanding needs work. Share practical lessons through your actions as well. Arrive prepared. Keep your word. Handle pressure calmly. Complete responsibilities without constant reminders. People learn from consistent behavior more than from long speeches. The person you become through daily challenges can also influence the people around you. A disciplined parent creates a different environment for a family. A reliable colleague improves teamwork. A calm person can change the tone of a difficult conversation. A person who takes learning seriously can encourage others to improve their own skills. Personal growth is individual, but its effects are often shared. Take a moment tonight to review the challenges you have completed recently. Do not ask only whether they were difficult. Ask what they gave you. Identify the skill, habit, decision, or lesson worth keeping. Then decide where it belongs in your normal life. That is the point where a challenge becomes growth. You no longer need to search constantly for harder experiences. You need to use ordinary experiences more intelligently. A difficult day can teach planning. A mistake can teach preparation. A disagreement can teach communication. A demanding project can teach patience. A failed attempt can teach a better method. A small success can reveal a system worth repeating. Your daily life contains enough material for continuous education if you are willing to study it. Build a simple cycle for yourself. Choose a meaningful challenge. Complete it. Observe what happened. Identify the useful lesson. Turn that lesson into a behavior. Repeat the behavior until it becomes stable. Then increase your responsibility in a thoughtful way. This process can continue for years because there is no final version of a person who has nothing left to improve. There will always be another skill to learn, another habit to strengthen, another responsibility to handle better, and another area where greater maturity is possible. The challenge is not to become perfect. The challenge is to remain willing to learn from your own life. Take what each day teaches you and use it tomorrow. Keep the habits that make you stronger. Remove the behaviors that repeatedly create problems. Improve your methods instead of defending them. Increase your capacity without destroying your balance. Let your actions become more thoughtful as your understanding becomes deeper. A better life is built through this steady process. You challenge yourself, you learn, you adjust, and you return with greater understanding. Then the next day gives you another opportunity to practice what you have learned. Over time, those daily decisions become your habits. Your habits influence your character, and your character shapes the way you handle your life. The real test begins after this audiobook ends. What you learn today means very little unless it changes what you do tomorrow. Your next level will not come from knowing more, it will come from practicing more. So choose one challenge before you leave this video. Make it clear, make it useful. Choose something that requires discipline, courage, focus, patience, or responsibility. Do not choose 10 things. Choose one and complete it. Challenge yourself to do what you normally avoid. Challenge yourself to finish what you start. Challenge yourself to keep a promise when nobody is watching. Challenge yourself to respond better than you did yesterday. And remember this: every day gives you a chance to prove that you are capable of more than your old habits. You will have difficult mornings. You will lose focus. You will make mistakes. You will have days when progress feels slow. Do not use those moments as reasons to stop. Use them to learn how to continue. Come back to this audiobook whenever you need to reset your standards and remind yourself what you are capable of building. Tomorrow is another test. Meet it as a stronger version of yourself.